saying that mental health represents the condition of a person's emotional and psychological state. And there is a difference between mental health and mental illness. So when we speak about mental health, what we're talking about is keeping your mind healthy and strong. And that's there needs to be a proactive way, a proactive approach as to how to keep your mind healthy and strong. But when we talk about mental illness, we're referring to when your mind isn't as strong as it can be. However, there is help out there, and we can help you do
As
that.
it relates to the community of color, is the stigma changing?
Well, yeah, thank goodness. I'm glad it's changing.
Yes.
And it's because the community of color are also seeing people that they look up to on screen, on television, talking about it and normalizing the conversation around mental health. So yeah, anytime that you see stars like Taraji P. Henson, Charlamagne the God, even LeBron James talking about these different calm apps and you know, different ways of receiving therapy, right? Then it makes other people in these communities, in the Black and brown community, know that, oh, okay, this is something that I can do too. And it actually eradicates the stigma surrounding it. So it's not such a taboo word, and therapy is not a taboo thing to do. It doesn't mean that I'm crazy or something wrong with me.
Because that's what it is in the community, and it's okay to say you're struggling.
Yes.
It's okay to say that you need help.
Yes.
But see, even as Black women, it's the strong Black woman. So you have to be strong on everything, and you're suffering in silence. Because you may appear to be weak to say, I'm struggling, I can't do it right now.
But that's a lie, right?
Yes.
Because when you say that I'm struggling, what that actually shows is strength. You're telling your truth. You're being authentic. You're speaking out. And what you're saying is I'm worthy and I'm enough to get whatever the help is that I need. So there's power in saying that something's wrong with me. But the difference is, right, the weakness comes in when you start to believe in that narrative. That's negative self-talk, and it's lies.
What are the signs of depression?
So this is what I want to point out. Nowadays, that as we're talking about this conversation on mental health being normalized, a lot of times people are just using these words as if they really know what they actually mean. So just because I'm sad on such day, now I want to tell everybody I'm depressed. Right? Or just because I feel a little nervous, right, because I'm going to walk into a meeting or a classroom, right, or I have a presentation to do, then oh my gosh, you know, I have anxiety. And that's not really true. So there's a clinical diagnosis. Like we diagnose you clinically as being depressed or anxious.
And those symptoms are what?
Right. Sorry. So those symptoms
That's okay.
You got depression.
That's okay.
When you are depressed, then what happens is you lose motivation. So you lose the motivation to get up to do anything. You can overeat or undereat. You can oversleep or undersleep, right? Loss of sleep. You also can have, of course, a very low mood. The things that you used to love to do, you know, you lose interest in the things that you used to love to do. And you get to a place where you feel helpless and hopeless. Helpless meaning I can't do anything. And hopeless, there is nothing for me and I can't see past tomorrow.
Okay, so what are the signs of anxiety?
Can I add one thing to that?
Yes.
It's also the length of time.
The length of time,
It's the length of time.
Yes.
So if it's persistent, if you're experiencing all the symptoms that you said for 2 weeks or 4 weeks or 6 months, there's different categories that will let you know kind of where you fall on that spectrum.
And you'll be able to identify that in friends or family members who are experiencing those things, because you can tell, you can see, okay, she's been laying around or he's been laying around, he's not doing the same things that he would normally do. Now, what is anxiety?
So anxiety is a mood disorder, and some of the common symptoms of anxiety, of course, shallow breathing, rapid heartbeat, sweating palms, undereating, overeating, can get to the point where it cripples you, like you don't know what to say, how to say it. You can't turn your mind off. You're forgetful. Those are some common symptoms of anxiety from a clinical perspective. And if you look
I was just going to say, can I just add in,
Yep.
right? Some procrastination.
Wow.
That's one,
Yep.
right? When I
Okay.
have these tasks to do and I can't get them done.
Yep.
For some reason, why can't I? Procrastination is
Yes.
one. And like you said, just feeling stuck, like I cannot move.
So would you say anxiety also is worrying about the future, and depression
yeah.
is worrying about the past?
See, and I don't like when, I've heard that used before, and I think that it's more than that. Like mental health is not, you can't just put it in a box and say those two things. I think that people like to use those because it gives people a framework so that they have an understanding, but that's not necessarily true because I can, fall into depression now, not necessarily just because of something that happened in the past, but something that I'm dealing with right now that's current. Yeah.
So go ahead.
I'm going to add to the question of what anxiety looks like. From a biblical perspective, it can look like Mark 14, where Jesus is in the Garden of Gethsemane, where he was sweating blood. He was faced with the most important decision and really task that he had to do, and that's go to the cross. And you can, if you read Mark 14, you'll see how deeply distressed Jesus was. But the beautiful part about that was he was able to face his greatest fear because Jesus was fully God and fully human.
Yes.
So if you look at that, it captures anxiety from a biblical perspective.
So there is a double-edged sword as we're going into mental health and social media. There's so many different images and things that we see on our screens for comparison or just whatever it may be. How has social media placed an impact, or what are the pros and cons of social media in mental health?
Yeah, so what NAMI just recently in 2021, they surveyed and did research, and what they're saying now is 47 million people in the United States are saying that they have symptoms of mental illness. And a lot of those people are referring to their emotional state after engaging in social media. Yeah, and it's because, it's when you allow social media to take over you, to take over, your feelings and your thoughts. So there should be a distinction between the use of this measure, right? And who it is that who it is that God says that you are and what it is that you're here to do. So you have to use social media and not allow social media to use you.
To use you.
Yeah.
So we've noticed in the news, Regina King's son, the beauty queen who also passed away. And there's been other people, so many people this year alone. What do you do if you find yourself in a stuck place and you feel as though hope is gone and you want to harm yourself? What should you do?
Please tell somebody. You have to tell somebody. You have to get help. There's a suicide hotline that I want everyone to keep near you. Put it in your phone. Just like the 911 is there and it's on your phone and you can push it, the suicide hotline needs to be there too. And it doesn't necessarily have to be there for you, but it could be there for your family members and your friends. If there's someone who's crying out, saying that they can't see past tomorrow and that they actually have a plan. Yeah, so we want to encourage them to get out and to get some help. Don't stay stuck because yes, today it feels dark, but lightness is out there. Yes, lightness is on the other side.
So with everything that's going on, what are some techniques that people can use? Some of our audience members, what are some techniques that we can use to help ourselves even when we're at that point?
I would say the first one is free, doesn't cost you anything, is your breath.
Yes.
The power of your breath. We know that deep breathing controls our parasympathetic nervous system. So our PNS. It controls our breathing. It lets us know, it tells our brain, that it'll be okay. It calms us down. It puts us back into that normal state. It
So
gets us out
simple
of fight or
breathing
flight.
techniques.
Simple breathing techniques, the power of our breath.
Yeah, and we call that meditation. Another thing is exercise. And I talk about 6 pillars in my book that actually highlight there's 6 things that we can do, the audience members too, that you can use to keep your minds healthy and strong. So exercise is one. Just getting out and exercising, if you do it 5 days a week, just 30 minutes, what it does is it increases the dopamine in your brain. So that's a neurotransmitter. That's our natural feel good. So if you exercise, that will happen. In addition to that, it also expands on your creativity and your motivation. So just doing that, getting out and walking.
Now I got a question for you.
Okay.
What if you have older members who are experiencing depression? Because again, there's a stigma with needing help, but older family members are not going to go to the therapist. What can we do to try to help break them out of that cycle of depression or just even being sad? Because aunties and uncles, I'm not going to see the therapist. Ain't nothing wrong with me.
I think you can support them. I think if the relationship is there, normalize the conversation, encourage them. As therapists, we know that the people that come to the room are the people that want to be there. So the best thing that we can do is how do we best support you? Say that you'll go with them, because another part of this mental health piece is it's always individualized. And as a family therapist, I work with the entire system.
Okay.
So if you can bring somebody that's the identified person that's struggling, but you come along with them in the therapy room, it actually reduces the stigma that they feel or the shame that they feel that it's something wrong with me. So the best advice that I can give is come with them. Get on the phone call with them so that way they know they have someone that's beside them.
Okay.
And I would add to that, yes, I agree, but I would add to that, to keep talking, like keep talking about it. You want to, little by little, you want to break down the barriers around the whole mental health stigma. So you keep talking, and I think it's powerful when you talk about your personal story. So if I have an uncle and I'm identifying that it looks like he may be in crisis, sometimes I just want to have a real conversation, an authentic conversation, where I may even share with him something that I had been going through. And let me just tell you something, Uncle Tom, I actually went to go see such and such and such. And when I tell you they're really good, even if you want me to drive you there and take you there, I'll do that. We don't have to tell anybody. So I think it's about the relationship.
Yes.
And I want you to keep talking to them and then share your personal story with that loved one.